The court, I do not know how you will judge me, but I will not change how I speak to make it easier for you to hear. I am not trained in rhetoric. I never practiced courtroom tricks. I do not flatter. I do not beg. What I say is what I've always said. Plain, blunt, dangerous only to those who lie to themselves. This is not a performance. This is not for pity. I am not here to escape death. I am here to escape dishonor. So listen, not for my sake, but for your own. Because if you expect me to tremble like a guilty man, you will be disappointed. I do not fear the end, only the kind of man I might become to avoid it. The poisoned name. This trial did not begin today. It began years ago, with whispers, with plays, with laughter that turned men against reason. Before I spoke, they heard a version of me I never created. A shadow of my name poisoned their minds long before I stood here. They say I teach what I do not know, that I twist words, corrupt the young, mock the gods. They say many things, but who are they? They have no name, no face, no argument, just volume. And in this city, volume wins. The truth does not need to be loud, but the lie shouts to make itself heard. So here I am, judged not for my actions, but for the fear attached to my name. And no defense I give can clean what you've already stained. I do not ask to be believed. I only ask that you notice how long you've been asleep. The oracle's paradox. They say the oracle at Delphi spoke my name. No one is wiser than Socrates. I was confused because I knew I was not wise. So I searched, I asked, I tested. I found poets who could recite but not explain. I found craftsmen who had skill but thought it made them superior. I found politicians who were praised but knew nothing. And in each of them, I saw what the oracle meant. They all believed they knew, but they didn't. And they didn't know they didn't know. That was their blindness. And my crime was holding up a mirror, not to shame, but to clarify. They saw their reflection and they hated it, not because it was false, but because it was true. And so they turned not against ignorance, but against the one who revealed it. The reflection I never claimed to teach. I asked, I listened, I pointed back. I did not plant confusion, I revealed it. Because most men carry beliefs they never question, and when they speak, they repeat what was never truly theirs. I pulled the thread, and the fabric fell apart. They thought I was destroying knowledge, but I was only removing the pretense of it. I did not shame them. I let their own answers do that. That's why they call me dangerous. Not because I shout, but because I don't. Because I leave silence where their certainty used to be. Because I make them look when they want to look away. Because in the end, the hardest thing to face is not me. It's their own unexamined self. The first charge, they say I corrupt the youth, that I turn them against their fathers, against tradition, against the gods. But ask them, what did I teach? Nothing. I gave no dogma, no ritual, no command. I asked questions, and the young learned to think. They watched their elders fail to explain what they believed. They saw pride dissolve into contradiction. And that was the danger. Not what I said, but what they saw. Because once a young man realizes the strongest man in the room has never questioned himself, he stops pretending. They call that corruption. I call it awakening. I did not break the youth. I broke the illusion that held them silent. And that is why I stand here, not for crime, but for making honesty contagious. The second charge. They say I do not believe in the gods of the city, that I introduce new spirits, that I reject the sacred. But tell me, is it possible to believe in spiritual things and not believe in spirits? Is it possible to speak of divine signs and not believe in the divine? They twist this into contradiction, because they do not care about truth, only victory. They say I corrupt the soul, yet they punish the man who speaks of the soul most often. They say I reject the gods, yet I stand here because I believe my life has been guided by something higher than law, than comfort, than fear. If that is not divine, then nothing is. And if that is guilt, then perhaps we are all innocent only when we stand for nothing. The unworthy fear, you fear death. I do not. Not because I know what comes after, but because I do not. And that makes me wiser than those who tremble. Because to fear death is to claim it is the worst thing. But how do you know? Has anyone returned to speak of suffering? Is the silence that follows life worse than the noise that fills it? There are worse things than dying. Living a lie, speaking what you do not believe, begging to stay when your soul wants to leave. If I were to act afraid, to weep, to plead, to decorate my words just to survive, would I be alive? Yes, but would I still be myself? No. Then death is not the danger, cowardice is. And I do not fear what ends the body. I fear what corrupts the soul. The gadfly, I am not here to comfort you, I am here to sting you. Like a gadfly to a slow and noble horse, I bite so it does not sleep. Athens is great, powerful, but heavy with pride. It moves slowly. It avoids hard questions. It prefers praise to truth. So the gods sent me not to rule, but to remind. I ask what you won't. I answer with more questions. I turn certainty into dust. You want me gone, but if I disappear, who will wake you? Who will risk hatred just to speak what hurts? You don't need another politician. You need a nuisance, a voice that scratches, a presence that stays long after it's been told to leave. I am that voice, not because I chose it, but because it was given, and I will not fall silent just because it is inconvenient. The offer he refused. They say I could live if I just said the right things. Apologize. Show remorse. Promise to be quiet. Change how I speak. Change who I am. But what kind of life would that be? A life bought by pretending, maintained by silence, paid for with truth. That is not life. That is a slower kind of death. I will not beg to be less than what I am. I will not sell my soul for more time. If the only way to live is to stop being myself, then I choose not to live at all, because existence without integrity is not survival. It is surrender. And I did not come this far to become someone else. The judgment, you have judged me guilty, and soon you will take my life. But listen closely, I do not grieve for myself, I grieve for you, because in silencing me, you silence the voice that made you uncomfortable for a reason. You may think you've won, but the cost is the truth you'll never hear again. I do not fear the end. I have lived as I was meant to live. Can you say the same? You followed the crowd, you praised the loudest lie, you voted not for justice, but for peace and quiet. And now you must carry that vote on your conscience long after I am gone. So no, this verdict is not a victory. It is a warning, and you will hear it again in your dreams. The prophecy. You think this ends with me, that silence will return, that questions will stop, but you are mistaken. From my death will come more voices. Quieter, sharper, harder to ignore. You wanted comfort, so you killed the gadfly. But what comes next won't sting. It will strike. There will be others, not because they want to be me, but because the world keeps creating men who refuse to lie. And when they come, they will not stand alone, because truth multiplies when you try to bury it, and courage echoes louder after blood has been spilled. You did not end the fire, you scattered the embers. And now they are everywhere. The gift of death. If death is sleep without dreams, then it is peace. And if it is not, then it is a journey. A meeting with those who came before. The chance to speak with minds unafraid of time. Either way, I do not lose. What I fear more is a life without examination, a breath taken without meaning. To stay alive by lowering the voice that told the truth, that is not a gift. That is a cage. But this death, this moment, it is freedom. Freedom from lies, from noise, from needing to be understood. So I do not drink this poison with regret. I drink it with clarity. Not because I want to die, but because I refuse to live unclean. The final request to those who remain, I ask one thing. When my son grows up, if he values money more than mind, if he speaks with pride but lives without purpose, remind him, not gently, not politely. Ask him what he's living for, what he stands on. What he serves that is greater than himself. Challenge him, cut through his words, make him feel what it means to be questioned. Not to shame, but to awaken. Because if he drifts through life without ever examining it, then he is not truly living. And the only justice you can give me now is to hold him to the same standard that killed me, unexamined life. This is not about death. It never was. It's about what we choose to live for, and what we refuse to die without. You can chase comfort, you can chase approval, you can chase years, but if you never stop to ask why, then none of it was ever yours. So let the sentence stand, let the poison rise. But remember this, the unexamined life is not worth living.